Cloud delivery helps teams deliver software in the cloud at the click of a button. Every part of the software delivery process is automated, from check-in to production. The application we're building is a fork from actual production application written for the city of Honolulu. It's written in Rails, which runs on Apache Passenger and has a PostgreSQL database backend. In deploying to AWS, the core services we're using are Opsworks, which is a DevOps application management service, CloudFormation, an infrastructure automation tool, and AWS's relational database service known as RDS. We're also using Route 53. Now, Opsworks uses EC2, and we're using security groups and DB security groups in AWS. Finally, we're using Chef and Cucumber for infrastructure automation and acceptance testing. So the scenario starts off when someone, it might be an application developer, a tester, an operations engineer, really any other team member, commits a code change. In this particular scenario, a developer would commit an application code change to the GitHub version control repository for this project. So Jenkins, which is a continuous integration server, is polling GitHub once a minute looking for changes. When it finds a change, it launches a deployment pipeline. Now, a deployment pipeline is a series of automated steps called jobs in Jenkins. And each of these jobs may perform a series of sub-steps that perform the build, deploy, test, and release processes with every commit to the version control repository. So far in this reference implementation, these steps will include building, creating, and storing a software distribution, executing fast-running unit tests. In this case, these tests are written in RSpec. Running static analysis tools, in this case Brakeman. Then it launches an environment and then runs a deployment of the software distribution. The environment provisioning steps include executing a CloudFormation template to obtain an Amazon machine image, or AMI, that contains a base operating system, configures the operating system including the directory creation, setting environment variables, and so forth. And then within CloudFormation, we're also describing Opsworks behavior to download and configure the versions for Bundler, Rails, Apache Passenger, Ruby, Ruby Gems, and the Postgres client, among others. We'll set the EC2 instance size used in Opsworks, and then we configure the application. When it sets the Opsworks configuration, it configures Opsworks to call standard and custom Chef recipes for setting environment variables, performing database migration, seeding the database, deploying the application via Chef, and configuring Searchify. Our CloudFormation script also configures RDS DB security groups and configures identity and access management, or IAM, users and instance roles to securely perform certain functions. We've also configured Jenkins to have the Route 53 automated DNS service update the endpoint to point to the new environment. We have it run the infrastructure and deployment tests, and then at some point during this process, an application gets launched. But after it runs through all these steps in the deployment pipeline, it automatically terminates the environment. And all resources it was using, including EC2 and RDS, are automatically terminated. When it gets to the production stage, which we haven't fully implemented in this reference implementation yet, it'll launch the working system just like this.